Hello world, welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. Hello world and welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. We're broadcasting live from the Joy Virtual Studio right here in the beautiful Finger Lakes region of New York State. It is so great to be with all of you today. It is Tuesday, March 24th, and we have so much to get to today on the show. You see the headline, Lockdown 2.0 imminent due to global oil shocks, which are resulting from the US-led war in Iran, and the tech fascists are ready to pounce. We're going to be welcoming Patrick Wood. He is the founder and CEO of Technocracy News. He is watching the techno fascists. And as all of you are beginning to understand, and so many across the globe are beginning to understand, thank you, Jesus, this is a controlled collapse. And it's designed to move us in to a new political order, a new technocratic order, if they can get away with it. Our mission is to throw every wrench we possibly can into their plans so that they don't get away with it. We're going to learn about that from Patrick Wood today on the SJ Show. He'll be with us in about 30 minutes live in the Joy studio. This is what he had to say on his website just a few moments ago. The war in Iran, as we all know now, is a pretext for the master plan to restructure global trade routes in order to dominate world trade. This is why we're seeing all of the action with the Strait of Hormuz, all of the chaos in terms of oil production and shipping and supply lines. He says this is a tectonic shift in the geopolitical structure of the world. Further, this is the master plan for global technocracy, even down to making Gaza into the poster child for the technocratic state, or the technate. And we're going to go in detail on what's going on in Gaza. They seek to resurrect Gaza and rebuild Gaza back better as the archetype for the technate. It's the template for what they would like to impose on nations and states across the globe. It is technocracy, one of the most vicious totalitarian ideologies we have ever fought against in the 20th century or the 21st century. Socialism, communism, fascism, collectivism, all pale in comparison to the technocratic police state. And this is the vision of people like Peter Thiel and Elon Musk and the tech bros. So we're going to get into that in detail with Patrick Wood today on the Shannon Joy Show. He goes on to say, if you cannot connect the dots here, you will be left in the fog of delusion and your family will be at risk. So the whole point here is knowledge for preparation and organization at the local level to push back against the efforts of the technocrats and the collectivists. And I have a great short little snippet of a woman, a farmer in a rural town. It's linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show today, How to Save America. This was pushed out by Colin Rugg, and a very humble farmer basically turning down, I want to say $21 or $24 million from a massive organization seeking to place a data center on her land. She simply said no. And Annie, if you can bring up that video when you have a moment, let me know when you're ready with it. I'd like to start with it because this is how you save America. This is how we push back. This is not inevitable. They are seeking to convince us that we have a worldwide global energy crisis. The headlines are absolutely dystopian. And there is going to be an energy crisis. We are going to have disruptions in supply lines. We might have brownouts. We might have shortages in some areas. But I am of the mindset that they are going to try to ramp this up as much as they can to justify global lockdowns. And this is why a clip from my show yesterday has now gone viral on Twitter. We're upwards over 1.2 million views from my show yesterday, warning the nation and the world about incoming energy lockdowns. They are reminiscent of the COVID lockdowns of 2020. They're going to use the same tactics. They're going to try to convince us that there is an energy crisis worldwide and then move us into their countermeasures. What we must always remember is that the countermeasures, the government interventions, the government solutions are always infinitely worse and more dangerous to humanity than any crisis that they can conjure up. And so we have to be very firm in our convictions. It's wonderful to see my post, my clip going viral yesterday. It means that everyone is ready for this and everyone is ready to push back against any attempts to lock us down in any way. But it is happening. The lockdowns are now sweeping the world. Here are just some of the headlines from Insider Paper. Philippines now, the president, President Marcos has declared a national energy emergency in the Philippines. We have now Zero Hedge reporting that hundreds of gas stations have run dry now in Australia as Hormuz shock exposes energy security failures. From the Daily Mail, grim countdown begins in Australia. Remember, Australia is a template country where they roll these things out in the worst case scenarios. In fact, Australia was one of the worst lockdown situations in the world, and we reported on that during the dark days of COVID-19 2020 and those lockdowns. So it does not surprise me that Australia is in the lead in terms of implementing now lockdown measures. This is all based on what we went over yesterday, the IEA 10-point plan to mitigate global and what they're calling global oil shocks. And so it's a 10-point plan to essentially limit movement, limit the use of energy, limit humanity from living in order to conserve energy. So this is from Daily Mail. Grim countdown begins as millions of Aussies are warned about a huge change in 3 weeks, which will leave everyone worse off. They're saying they cannot keep going. This is also reported major cities in India, particularly Hyderabad, are currently experiencing a severe compressed natural gas shortage, forcing thousands of auto rickshaws and cabs off the roads or into hours-long refueling queues. We also have imagery and reports of airports across the United States of America with 3, 4, 5, 6-hour waits. They're saying it's because of TSA and the temporary government shutdown, but it is giving the illusion of chaos and crisis. Some are also pointing to energy problems as well. And so the headlines are they're just insane. This is what the architect has to say. They are moving us into the next phase, the systematic destruction of oil production to create the illusion of scarcity. And that is a critical statement. The systematic, on purpose, destruction of oil production under the guise of an Iran war to create the illusion of scarcity, to justify the slowdown and the shutdown and the collapsing American economy. We know that this economy is perching precariously here in the US, and we're going to talk about that in greater detail on Thursday, what is happening with the financial situation and the economy in the US. Trump and his administration and the ruling class in the US have to cover up the real reason for that, which is their own profligate spending, their own corruption, and downright insider trading and looting, which is what we're seeing now. In just a moment, we're going to go over the pump and dump yesterday, breathtaking. Within 52 minutes on Monday morning, we witnessed in real time Donald Trump and his administration using the bully pulpit of the presidency and the illusion of peace talks with Iran, which never happened, to drum up the market and then sell it off. A classic pump and dump. Insider trading happened in those 52 minutes, and no one has anything to say about it. It's breathtaking how blatant they are. I have a full report on that, which we're going to go over in just a moment. They are looting all the way down. This is what Catherine Austin Fitts had to say about the situation. The race to wipe out Main Street, deflate the money supply, and collapse the tax base. This is not big banks sabotaging anything. This is the control grid wrecking ball, the technocratic takeover fueled by the complete hubris and arrogance of people who have never had to grow food, dig an oil well, sail in a fishing boat, or fight a war. And they believe that depopulation, a culling of humanity, will be very good for them. These people are vicious, they're wicked, and they're trying to take us down. It is the job of we, the little people, to not let them. And we're going to be bringing Patrick Wood into the Joy Virtual Studio in just about 10 minutes to discuss the news of the day and what they envision for us. What does a technocratic or a techno-fascist surveillance and police state look like? Well, we're going to have a bird's eye view of that in what they're doing in Gaza. And so we will discuss that and more with Patrick Wood. He is the founder and CEO of Technocracy News, and he is one of the world's foremost experts on the ideology behind techno-fascism and why it's so dangerous. But I do want to spend some time on pump and dump Donald Trump looting all the way down, because it's pretty disgusting what we witnessed yesterday. And it's part of a trend, and he's been doing it since the moment he stepped into office. The writing is on the wall. He knows that this economy is going down. His associates know that this economy is going down. They're doing everything they can to hasten the collapse of this economy, and they're looting all the way down. And this is why it's no surprise to me that this was reported early today. The SEC enforcement director, Margaret Ryan, resigned last week, reportedly because she fought with the agency bosses after calling for an investigation into the Trump family's misconduct in terms of insider trading. And I have 4 examples right here. We're going to end with what Trump did yesterday morning, which is utterly breathtaking. It is criminal. He needs to be perp walked. This is from the Daily Beast. Trump's son-in-law, that's Jared Kushner, just reported his private investment fund has surged by billions of dollars in value as new regulatory filings reveal. What a coincidence. This website you must follow. Nancy Pelosi stock trader. The handle on Twitter is Pelosi Tracker. And what is interesting about this Twitter account is that it began because of the corruption of the Democrat Party under the Biden administration. Has 1.5 or 1.6 million followers on Nancy Pelosi stock trader. And the Twitter account became famous because they followed everything Nancy Pelosi bought. And it was amazing how well she did during the Biden administration with her insider knowledge. The millions upon millions, if not billions, that she acquired, likely from insider trading. And so the account grew and grew. They're consistent over at Nancy Pelosi stock trader. And rather than Trump humping after his presidency, they consistently scrutinized the new party in power, the Trump family and the administration, and now they have pivoted. So I find this Twitter account to be reliable and consistent. And they have come out with one post, one example after another. This was just a week ago. Donald Trump Jr.'s fund invested in one of the only U.S. rare earth magnet startups at a $200 million valuation. 3 months later, the Pentagon awarded said company $620 million in loans, and the Commerce Department took a $50 million equity stake in Donald Trump Jr.'s firm. In February, Trump announced a $12 billion rare earth strategic reserve, and today the company is now valued at $2 billion. That's a 10x for Trump Jr. in under a year. Vulcan is now building the largest rare earth magnet factory outside of China, and the U.S. says they need to stop relying on China, which controls 90% of the global rare earth processing. The timing on this is either the greatest coincidence in history, or it isn't, writes Nancy Pelosi, stock trader. What a coincidence. Just a day ago, the president's son just can't stop winning, from Nancy Pelosi, stock trader. Eric Trump has now become a strategic investor in Xtend. That was on February 17th, 2026. Xtend is an Israeli AI drone maker that has contracts with the Department of Defense and has already been battle tested in Gaza. On February 28th, surprise, surprise, the U.S. and Israel launched their strikes on Iran. 5 days later, Xtend mobilized drone teams for the U.S. at the request of Israel's Ministry of Defense. Xtend is now reportedly merging with JFB Construction Holdings in a deal valued at $1.5 billion to go public on NASDAQ, and that's expected to close in mid-2026. The Trump family intuition strikes again, says Nancy Pelosi, stock trader. And then the worst of the worst. This is insane. Insane. Yesterday morning, Monday morning, 52 minutes, Donald Trump engaged in one of the most blatant insider trading agendas we've ever witnessed. And it's no surprise that they kicked out the SEC enforcement director, Marjorie Ryan, just a week ago, who resigned because she went to battle with agency bosses to investigate the Trump family for misconduct and insider trading. And so now that she's out of the way, they are free to run roughshod over the people of the United States of America, and they're doing it in a blatant fashion. This is from @BarkMeta, and there are multiple stories on this floating around social media. But this is what happened yesterday. 5 minutes before the president announced a halt to attacks on Iran, someone placed a $1.5 billion bet on stocks going up and dumped $192 million in oil within 5 minutes, writes BarkMeta. These trades were 4 to 6 times larger than anything else in the entire market. And whoever did this wasn't guessing. You don't risk $1.5 billion on a hunch. You just don't do it. All right. They went on to reveal that there was zero public indication that the announcement was coming. Remember, this was early Monday morning. There were no leaks, no press, nothing. The only people who could have known what was going down are the people in the room when the decision was made. And someone in that room picked up a phone, and within minutes, they made more money than most Americans will earn in 1,000 lifetimes on one single trade, on a war that has cost you $4 plus a gallon and $16 billion in tax dollars, and will also cause potentially or cost you the lives of your son or daughter as they now commit 8,000 troops, boots on the ground in Iran, paving the way for a potential draft, pumping and dumping all the way down. American citizens are funding this war. American citizens oppose this war. And the politicians, especially Trump and his family, are profiting from it. This is not the first time. Every major announcement from this administration has had massive suspicious trades right before it dropped, tariff reversals, policy shifts, and war decisions. It's the most blatant insider trading operation in the history of American politics, and it's not even close. It's happening over and over and over, and every day they get away with it, every day they get more emboldened. This is drastically worse than anything we ever saw with Joe Biden or Nancy Pelosi, and Republicans are cheering them on. Absolutely horrifying. Thank you to @BarkMeta, also Unusual Whales, who pushed this out. And you're going to see this on mainstream news media probably within the next few hours, because this was insane. He should be impeached for this. Donald Trump should be impeached for this. But unfortunately, so many on the American right, evangelicals, Republicans, are so deceived and distracted by the politics of the day that they can't see it. And this is why we are vulnerable right now. And this is why it is so important that we keep our heads about us and understand what is coming. Patrick Wood is going to be joining us in just a moment in the Joy virtual studio. We're going to go to a quick break, but I do want to say hello to all of you. I'm Garth Hilton. Welcome to the Ask Jay Show. Of course, we're broadcasting live on Rumble. We're live on Twitter, Spreely TV, Roku TV, Apple TV. We are live on Facebook, live on Substack, The Shannon Joy Show, reaching over 1 million eyes and ears every single month and approaching 5 to 6 million impressions, all by ourselves here from the Joy Virtual Studio independently. Huge thank you to Inez Andy Cyrus, who is producing the show today. She's going to be keeping an eye on all of the live chats. If you are on Substack, I would love for you to say hello and ask questions. We're going to have Patrick Wood with us for about 45 minutes, and hopefully we can do a little bit of Q&A after he comes in and gives us his report. I see you, CM1968. Great to see you. We also have CJP Rumble, Be My Valentine. Welcome to the Rumble live chat. Buskman, I see you on the live chat. Coda Squito, very good to see you. Brand new chatter. Candy TV, great to see you as well. Futurez is with us. Bill Benz is with us as well. Please make sure you give us a thumbs up, join the live chat, leave a comment. This is how we grow organically and authentically here on the Shannon Joy Show. We couldn't do it without all of you. So without further ado, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to bring Patrick Wood into the Joy Virtual Studio to talk about the headlines, Lockdown 2.0 incoming, and how that, if they get their way, could pave the way to the technocratic, fascistic police state. It is a dystopian new world order, and we need to fight it tooth and nail. And so we're going to talk with Patrick Wood about that in just a moment. Keep it tuned right here on the Ask Jay Show. We'll be back in a minute. I am so proud to be working with Peter Schiff and Schiff Gold in 2026. There is no one that I would trust more to send this audience to in terms of a metals strategy, whether it's your gold and silver physically that you purchase and keep in your home or in a safety deposit box, gold and silver in an IRA, which you can do through Schiff Gold, or even investing in gold mining stocks, which Peter Schiff and his team can also help you with. It is time to get that metals strategy in place. Right now, silver and gold are soaring. Silver is approaching $85 an ounce, while gold is up over $45 an ounce. And people don't see this stopping anytime soon. I know it seems expensive to you, but I don't know that there is a cap to this in the near future. So you can get started now. I want to encourage you guys right now to go to schiffgold.com/joy. That is schiffgold.com/joy. Everything that you need, Peter's analysis, market reports, research reports. You can get plugged into his investment services, physical gold and silver, which we're going to be talking about this month, and also protecting your retirement with a gold or silver IRA. It's all right there at your fingertips on my page, schiffgold.com/joy. Hey everyone, I just want to take a moment to thank one of my longtime friends, associates, my financial advisor, and a beloved sponsor of the Shannon Joy Show, Dom Polano over at PCM and Associates. Dom Polano, as many of you know, was the very first Shannon Joy Show advertiser almost 12 years ago, and he's been with us ever since. I trust Don Polano. He manages some of my assets and my retirement fund, and he's offering his services to all of you. He can take clients anywhere in the country and even across the globe over at PCM and Associates. And as you guys know, it is so important today. There's so much volatility and chaos. You need a human being, a person that you trust, and a person that shares your values. And that's Don Polano at PCM and Associates. So if you are looking for someone to help you manage your retirement or have investment advice, please consider calling Don Polano over at PCM Associates. His number, 1-800-536-1368. That's 1-800-536-1368. And of course, you can go to pcmpolano.com. That is pcmpolano.com to learn about all of his services and get in contact with his team. Again, so thankful for Don Polano at PCM and Associates. And I think that you are really going to appreciate his services. So that number again, 1-800-536-1368 for a financial advisor that you can trust. Welcome back, everyone, to the Shannon Joy Show. Without further ado, I am absolutely thrilled to welcome back into the Joy Virtual Studio one of my absolute all-time favorite guests. Patrick Wood is with us today on the Shannon Joy Show. He is the founder of technocracy.news and one of the world's foremost experts on techno-fascism and the ideology of technocracy. He's been studying this for well over 20 years and pushing out some of the best information on his website, technocracy.news. He's also the author of blockbuster book, Final Betrayal, which we can talk about. Patrick, welcome to the SJ Show. Glad to see you.
Nice to see you as well. Thank you.
Well, it's the end of the world as we know it, Patrick. If I were to peruse social media and the headlines, I mean, we're being pummeled. One headline after another, energy shortages, spike in oil prices, financial instability, you name it. How are you doing as we enter what appears to be phase 2 of the systematic collapse of American society and culture and our government as we know it, as they attempt to move us into a new technocratic global order? You hanging in there?
I am. And, we see this is the end of the old world order at this point. We could call it the old new world order. That's gone. Okay. And we're looking at the reconstruction of the new world order. So this is not surprising. We've seen signs of it ever since Trump got into office. And basically the whole thing is being shattered all over the world. And we see new trade routes being established. We see new structures, power structures in the world as well. And what the world will look like is not what it was before, for sure.
Let's take a look at what that might look like. You recently posted a very important piece at technocracy.news, and you identify Trump's war with Iran is about reshaping global trade. So it's largely a contrived war. There might be some stuff happening over there, but they are shutting down old systems and old supply lines to recreate new ones. And in the meantime, trying to move us into another lockdown scenario. Very interesting. Here we are mid-March of 2026, 6 years almost to the date of 2 weeks to flatten the curve and slow the spread. The lockdowns of 2020 initiated by Donald Trump. And now here we are again. And I hate to say I told you so, everyone, but I told you so. In 2024, in 2025, and in 2026, I said Trump is going to lock us down again if he can, right? We can stave it off, but they're going to try. But can you speak to this piece and the reshaping of global trade and the global economic order?
We know already, aside from the Mideast, that Trump made a play for Panama. That's where the Panama Canal is. This is a major, major trade route. He made a bid for Greenland that would be central to the Arctic trade. Now there's a play going on in the Middle East to establish a new trade corridor from India to Europe. This is going to be potentially the most significant trade route in probably all of history. So that's all to say, global trade is morphing into something new. And at this point, it's you can't say it's under the control of the United States necessarily,
Right.
but it is happening. So global trade, this is nobody wants to talk about economics. They don't want to talk about trade. That's so petty, you know, and a lot of people's mind. Well, we want to argue about politics. Oh, let's get a fight going.
That's right.
This is not about politics at all. It's pure economic shenanigans, if you will.
Mhm.
And so we look at this new IMEC quarter that's trying to be born in the Mideast right now.
What does IMEC stand for?
That stands for, let me just get it right here, the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor.
Okay.
India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, IMEC.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. And Gaza plays into this as well, because as it turns out, Gaza is going to be right in the smack dab middle of this corridor.
Okay.
And when we talk about a trade corridor, by the way, this is not just a trade route where you have ships and railroads and so on. This is not that. This is a full-blown corridor that will contain pipelines, fiber optic cables, other things. Of course, you're going to have the sea shipping going on, but also a network of cargo trains, spreading out all over Europe. So the corridor concept, this is a major thing, especially for the Mideast. They've never had this before. This is a new thing. And with all the data centers that are being built in the Mideast right now, and all the fiber optic lines cables that are being laid in the Middle East, there's obviously a push to establish AI data centers along the way of this international trade route or corridor. It's a big thing.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, there hasn't been a lot of money pledged to it yet, like you might expect. But there's a war going on, and people are probably antsy to get that all settled. But at this point, the main focus on the corridor at this point is clearing the Strait of Hormuz, because that's central to this trade route.
Okay.
They have to have access to it, control over it, so that the flow of goods can proceed from India into the Mideast. So there you go. And we'll talk about Gaza as well, but that's part of it. But
So would you say that the India, Middle East, Europe corridor, so this is IMEC, would be the Western US-led version of like a Silk Road or the SEC, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, right? That would go up against, for example, China and in Russia, the BRICS nations. So this is kind of our attempt at securing these corridors and supply lines for the 21st century and handing them over, using them to push the technocracy, to establish that before the Chinese or the Russians could get to them. I mean, is that why Iran is so important right now, that we're racing for that?
yes, Iran has been an outlier, if you will, in the Mideast. It doesn't like anybody, for one, and
I kind of like that about them. I'm going to be honest.
well, they won't cooperate with anybody, and they like to
Yeah.
fire missiles at people, and there's just a pain in the butt, basically. So Iran at this point basically needs to be wiped out as far as the Mideast is concerned, and Saudi Arabia, for instance, they just weighed in with President Trump. They want President Trump to complete this war and get rid of Iran. They don't have the military power to do it themselves, so they look to the United States. So there's other nations in the Middle East that have been hit by Iranian missiles. They're saying the same thing. So Iran has to go, and if you end up kind of with a peaceful Mideast, if that's possible, then the whole business of trade will continue.
And it's not just trade as we knew it in the 20th century. This is what you've been writing about and talking about, the establishment of a technocratic global order. So this is data centers, AI, complete surveillance, using that surveillance to control and command the lives of as many citizens as they possibly can, global citizens, U.S. citizens. And
exactly. And I have to stress, you talk about, is this being led by the United States? Not really. This is confusing. I realize, but the United States is not the one that's forming this union at this point, or the corridor. This is mostly centered on the Gulf states themselves. And the money that's being poured into it is from the sheiks and the sovereign wealth funds, et cetera, in the Middle East. So this is a new power center I think that's forming right before our eyes in the Middle East. And the United States is kind of on the sidelines at this point. President Trump, however, has kind of escaped the hatch, if you will, and he's involved in Gaza separately, not as president of the United States. So there's something going on with him and his family in the Middle East, and doesn't have anything to do with the United States necessarily. So
Trump has formed an alliance with not only Israel, but also these power centers in the Middle East and the technocrats, right? Because that's really what they're envisioning.
We see the technocrat class in America, the arch technocrats. They've already been migrating to the Mideast, making deals with the people in the Mideast, the dictators basically in the Mideast, to create data centers, huge data centers with unlimited energy in the Middle East. So they're connecting this with fiber optic cables. This is why the corridor is so important. It's going to have a huge fiber optic core, if you will, to take the data from these data centers, the AI data centers, to spread it the whole world. Well, the technocrats see an opportunity for basically free energy in the Middle East. They don't have enough here to do it, so they're going to the Mideast. So there's part of the power being migrated to the Mideast. But these tech companies, they don't do that on behalf of the United States, for sure. They're independent at this point. They've flown the coop as far as America's concerned, right? So whatever they do, they're adding impetus to what's going on in the Middle East and the Gulf states especially. And one of the interesting things about this is that as far as Gaza is concerned, the peace board and all its activities in Gaza, that's on the trade route, by the way, or the corridor. Israel has not put one single pledge against Gaza at this point. So all the money has been flowing from the Gulf states into Gaza, the project in Gaza. And, you have to shake your head. What's going on here? Well, the fact is, I think there's a major, not a struggle, but a major financial system or epicenter. Let's put it, that's a good word. Epicenter of control in the Middle East. This has escaped everybody's attention at this point. And it's stunning to me.
It this would make sense to me, Patrick, given the behavior of this president and his family over the past 14 months, first 14 months of his administration, as evidenced by my last segment, pump and dump Trump, looting all the way down. It appears to me, tell me if I'm overstating this. It appears to me that Donald Trump is over the United States of America. The USA is out, the Middle East is in, and he is setting up for his family some type of kingship or dictatorship or control center in Gaza. And that is why, so basically, they're going to drive Western democracies into the ground. They're going to collapse our economies. They're going to pump and dump on the way down, enrich themselves, collapse the dollar, suck out all the money, and then at some point move the entire operation over to the Middle East because they envision that to be the new power center of the world. That is going to be the new world order. That will be the 21st century power structure. And the US, other Western democracies will be, I mean, they will just flood the border with migration, immigration, collapse the system. And we could potentially be moving into second world or third world status here in the country if we allow this bastard to get away with it. Am I overstating this, or is that kind of what you're angling towards?
I think that basically, when I say that Trump has kind of left the country at this point, as far as Gaza is concerned, for sure, when he declared at the World Economic Forum, when he started the Board of Peace in the first place, that he was going to be the sole dictator of the Board of Peace. And he did that as a private citizen, not as the president of the United States. So he came back to America, however, and
he said dictator. He said the word.
No, not dictator, but he's the chairman for life.
Okay, that would be a dictator. Okay, all right.
This is how a monarch operates.
Yeah.
Okay, you're president for life or chairman for life, and you get to pick your successor. This is in the charter of the Board of Peace. So he not only is going to be there for life, for his life, but he can also pick his successor before he dies. My guess is he's already picked that person. So this is an independent organization operating outside of the confines of the United States. It's also outside the United Nations at this point. Basically, Trump took away the power from the United Nations to be a peacekeeping force. So, this is crazy. But okay, the Board of Peace is now saying in Gaza, that was their first project. Gaza is going to have a peacekeeping force of 20,000 people, soldiers, all of them coming from Islamic countries from the north.
What?
Yes, you can't make this up. So none coming from the United States at this point, none coming from Israel. This would be a force made up by Islamic soldiers, if you will.
Wow.
From other countries other than the Gulf states themselves. So the stage is set at this point that Trump is basically going to be the governance layer for Gaza. But it gets worse than that because his financial company, I think he mentioned this, his financial company is World Liberty Financial, right?
Right. Yes. We went over this last week on the show, but let's get in deep on it. Let's figure out what the structure is.
This is the organization that's hosting or making the USD1 token that they say this is the upgrade for the dollar around the world. Okay, that's hype for sure, but that's what they say.
Absolutely. Yep.
And so this organization, the World Liberty Financial, it started in September of 24. Now it's grown to be over in wealth now, or capital, whatever. It's grown to $13.5 billion. And
that was from zero. That was from zero, right?
From zero.
From zero. So it was nothing.
So, but here's the deal. They're proposing now that the USD1 will be the currency layer or the financial layer that would be imposed on Gaza. That's under the control of Trump as well. So he has the security layer in place, the financial layer in place, and he also has the governance layer in place. That means, in my mind, he's basically going to be the king of Gaza, period. So, and this is all done.
You're blowing my mind. You're blowing my mind.
This is all done outside of the United States as a private citizen.
And using public funds, though, correct? Aren't there?
You're right. This is the problem here, because if this can be tied to, if the Iran war can be tied to the IMEC corridor, when Trump has a principal interest in it, in Gaza especially, we're talking, I mean, Gaza is a beautiful, beautiful place. It has this potential to just be worth trillions of dollars in the end, really, really can. And it's 90 miles south of Haifa. That's a major port on this corridor route. And Gaza will be a major beneficiary of that. So if Trump is using our military resources to clear the way for his trade corridor, if you will, that's on. You can't describe what's happening at this point. It'd be totally off the wall. But yes, he said, well, the United States is going to pledge $10 billion towards Gaza. However, he had no authority to do that, so that's just sitting on the table empty, because Congress hasn't said a word about it, and I doubt Congress are going to do anything in the first place about it. But so he pledged, nevertheless, well, we're going to give $10 billion to Gaza. That won't happen, I don't think. But nevertheless, he made the executive order in our country to recognize the Board of Peace as an international nonprofit organization, all along the order of the United Nations, the Bank for International Settlements, et cetera. So their people can operate outside of regulations in the United States. For instance, the IRS can't touch them. They have no authority at all. They can travel without portfolio. That's in other words, like they'll have a diplomatic immunity. So this is a structure that's being created outside of our Constitution for sure, and the Constitution actually has nothing to say about it. I mean,
it's never happened before. I mean, this is brazen. This is ballsy. I mean, this guy is creating a new country and declaring himself the king of it, right under our noses.
Well, you know, this is not patently illegal in that sense. You know, nobody's ever done it before. Nobody's ever done this before except him.
This is blowing my. Is it him? Here's my question. Let's get into this, Patrick Wood. This is incredibly important reporting that you are doing. Technocracy.news, by the way, technocracy.news. These are public records. You can go and you can look up everything that Patrick Wood just presented to you. I looked at it last week, but you placed it in context that I missed, Patrick. That it makes sense. It makes sense that Trump has aligned with the global technocrats and techno-fascists. It makes sense that Trump doesn't seem to care that he's running this country, this economy, the dollar, our people off a cliff. He just couldn't care less about that. And the fact that it is all laid out, that it's right under our noses, the brazen nature of this, it's just mind-blowing. But I've got two questions for you. The first is, why would Israel, who committed so much blood and treasure for so many years, so much controversy, accusations of genocide, horrifying situation in Gaza, that was entirely Israel. We weren't really involved in that, except for maybe providing them with some funding and resource. Why would Israel just hand Gaza over to Trump as a present and give it to him? Is Trump really the mastermind behind this, or is he merely the beneficiary of something larger, a larger control structure that is paving the way for all this, creating it, and then Trump just gets to go and be the famous king of Gaza and, you know, live out his life? I mean, where are your thoughts on who's really behind this, and the question about Israel? Why would they just give it up?
That's a good question. At this point, there's lots of answers that we need to have. At this point, Trump, it looks like Trump is operating on his own. I don't think there's anybody above him necessarily, other than members of the Trilateral Commission. They're all over the place.
Wow.
And as a matter of fact, he invited when he created the board for Gaza itself. I think it was a 9-member or 8-member board of directors just for Gaza, not the Board of Peace itself, but for Gaza. 3 members of the Trilateral Commission are members of that board. That's stunning to me. Stunning to me that they're still in the mix. I've said for years they're still in the mix. People don't believe me. They're a bunch of old fogies, you know, and whatever. They have no influence in the world. I got news for you. They're back. In fact, they've never been lost, but they're back, and they're visible at this point. So obviously, there's a layer of people above Trump probably that you'll see them in the central bank system, you'll see them in the Trilateral Commission, the multinational companies, et cetera, or companies, and so there's probably that. But Trump stands to make buku bucks off of Gaza. I'm telling you what, he's greased the skids here. However, it hasn't come to pass yet. This is still on the drawing board. It hasn't been actualized now. There are some projects starting already in Gaza to clear some of the rubble and start some building. And so the troops are starting to move in. These are all Islamic troops. So I have to say this. This is not Israel sending its troops in. In fact, Israel is withdrawing its troops from Gaza and is giving it over to the Islamic troops.
This is a mercenary force. It's a private army, essentially.
Sort of it is, yeah.
But what else can you tell? How else can you describe it other than a private army? If Trump is the king of Gaza and he has his board of peace, you don't happen to have the names of the members of the board of peace anywhere at your convenience? Maybe we can go to a break and we can find them, because I think I'm trying to begin to piece together the apparatus and the infrastructure around Trump. It does appear that he is at the center of this. I've always wondered, it's always been a big question, who is wagging the dog in the relationship between Israel and America. And many would like to point to Israel as the mastermind or Bibi as the mastermind. I've always pushed back against that. I'm not really sure. I guess you have to go back and look at who created Israel and why it exists and separate the government of Israel from the people. And I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But it does seem that Trump is brazen. He is moving and shaking. Think about it this way. He might not get $10 billion from the United States government or the Treasury, but if he conducts a pump and dump like he did yesterday for a cool 1.5 billion and does that every day for the next 10 weeks, he's going to have all the funding he needs. I mean, he's literally looting the United States of America through the stock market. He's looting the US through insider trading and lawfare. I mean, handing over trillions of dollars of data, infrastructure, access to data and infrastructure, our own government, to technocrats through Doge. I mean, he gave Elon Musk $1 trillion worth of data, $1 trillion worth of social security, treasury, you name it, through the Doge operation. So I think it's important. He can't do this alone, but I think it's important. I think you're laying out something that's blowing my mind. It's actually blowing my mind. Oh, thank you. Oh, Annie brought up the key participants.
Ah,
So, Patrick, before we get to that, so we have them. Thank you, Annie. What does Trump need to do then to realize this grand dream of becoming the dictator of Gaza or the king of Gaza or whatever it is that he has in plan? You mentioned the apparatus. He has the military apparatus, 20,000 soldiers. He has the financial apparatus, Liberty Financial, USD1. It's a scam. Don't go into it, by the way. They want to make it the digital dollar. He's already getting pushback on that, Patrick. Catherine Austin Fitts pushed this out. And this was reported on Bank XRP. Trump is mad now, Patrick, at the big banks, the big evil banks. Get ready to get confused, okay, guys, because it's coming. It's coming. The big global institutional banks are now pushing back on Trump's scheme. And he says that they're trying to sabotage him and sabotage the Genius Act to stall real crypto progress. So Trump is going to pretend that he's going to save the country and the economy with the new digital dollar, which is really a private digital, meme coin. But he needs the Genius Act to do it. He's now getting pushback on the Genius Act. And Catherine Austin Fitts is saying, it's not the banks sabotaging. It's Trump sabotaging our own country in order to push this scheme through. What does he need to accomplish in the next 12 months in order to realize this vision for himself? And do you think he's going to be able to do it?
let me just explain about the central bank digital currencies.
Okay.
I've studied this a lot, along with Catherine, by the way,
Yeah.
as you know. When Trump signed an executive order early last year to waive this Fed away from research on central bank digital currencies, that was all about payment systems. Like payment systems, what I mean, if you want to move money from your bank account to mine, you can have a way to do it with digital currency. But this was never about currency in the first place, per se. When Trump did that, the system that he erected now with his executive orders as well as legislation that he signed,
Yep.
all that legislation, by the way, was written by people like David Sachs, Michael Krassius, et cetera, all the arch technocrats in Washington, D.C. He created the regulatory structure for a new type of a financial system, totally privatized, mostly from his buddies like Howard Lutnick and the Secretary of Commerce, his company is in charge of all the treasury bills that fund Tether, for instance. And now Trump's organization, World Liberty Financial, they're major beneficiaries of this. This is the payment token side, okay? However, just Trump and his boys just released, like last month, it's January, maybe early February, they released a division in their company, World Liberty Financial, to create an asset token that will operate beside the payment tokens.
Okay.
This is huge, because the future of global finance is based on asset tokens, not payment tokens.
Can you explain that?
Yes,
to
I need to do that.
Or a 10-year-old?
I know this is hard to understand
For all the 10-year-olds out there. I mean, I get it, but all the 10-year-olds out
Okay,
there.
here's what Howard Lutnick lusted for in just before the inauguration. He said, if he and Elon was in the mix back then, but he said, if me and Elon can get our hands on the 682 million acres of land in the United States and turn that into some type of value, could we make even 0.25% off that money? Well, what's in view here is using this tokenization process to tokenize all the assets of the United States that the government already owns, right? So if somehow the scheme is to create these the system of tokenization to lift all the value out of that land and put it into the cloud so people can trade it around the world. This could be for any and well, let me back up. Larry Fink, the head of BlackRock, right?
Right.
And he's also a member of the Trilateral Commission. Don't let that pass for sure.
Okay.
He said anything that can be tokenized, a value, will be tokenized in the future. That's what he said. Everything is going to be tokenized. This is the scheme, and we see this in Gaza as well. Gaza is all about tokenizing all the assets in Gaza and selling them off to the world, basically.
So this creates instant wealth out of nowhere.
Yes.
And they could conceivably, what is our debt? The US debt, what is it, over 40 trillion at this point? Look, 42 trillion at this point?
You're right. Let me just tell you though, debt is going to go away at some point.
They're going to try. They're going to try. Yeah.
It has, I mean, everybody understands at this point,
right.
Debt is so over because it can't be maintained. It's not sustainable.
Right.
And so eventually, mathematically, it has to explode in 1,000 pieces at some point. And what Trump and the arch technocrats have done with this crypto nonsense of tokenization of assets, this is how the world is going to look in 5 years. Everything, all the currencies of the world will be just going in smoke, and all the assets will be put into tokens where they can be traded and managed separately from the real estate, if you will, behind that funds them in the first place.
I would like to say that's what they're trying to do. Mm-hmm. That I don't think it's inevitable because there is a major push back against this from BRICS nations. So, Brazil, China, India, and there is a very, I mean, we are watching, I have linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show, a fascinating interview that I think everyone should watch. It made a lot of sense to me, of a gentleman named Pierre Lassonde. He's a Canadian. Don't judge him. And it was an interview of Pierre Lassonde. There is, I mean, central banks, sovereign banks are moving in, despite the precarious nature of gold and silver over the past couple of weeks. It's gone up, it's gone down, it's lost a lot of value. There is a huge move into reestablishing gold as the tier 1 reserve currency of the globe. I mean, that's something that they want to do. And that could also involve tokenization. I mean, you could look at gold actually becoming a currency that you can use to buy and sell. You could buy bread or a house or whatever with it. I think what I'm hearing from what I'm hearing from you is that everything, the checkerboard is in the air. The pieces are tossed in the air. And then we now have global power centers, cartels, technocrats, families with enormous amounts of wealth. I mean, oligarchs from across the globe, all now angling and pushing and shoving around who's going to control what that new global currency is going to be. And I don't think they're just going to hand it to the technocrats. I don't think they just get it. I think that they want to give the illusion that we have all the AI. I'm Peter Thiel and I have Palantir and I can drone you, bro. I can like come in and take you out with my drone. And, you're going to have to get into Bitcoin or all of our cryptos because that's the way things are going to go. I mean, I know that's what they want. I think that's why they're trying to push so much hype into AI. Like this bubble is about to pop. We know about the tech bubble here in the US, all of the promises of AI that are not coming to fruition. People like it a little bit, but not that much. The robots are not going to take over all of humanity. They would like us to think that they are because I think it's a flex. It's a bluff. And so they have to move this as fast as they can before everyone realizes that the tech bubble is the only thing that is holding up the United States economy at this point. And there's no there. I don't think they have achieved it or mastered it. And so I don't like to look at something like this as inevitable. I'd like to rather look at it as something they would like to do and they are planning to do, but that we can stop if we work together, we communicate, we build coalitions, and we push back. Your thoughts on that?
Certainly, there's going to be pushback. There already is in some cases.
Yay.
The central banks, however, have maintained their mostly absolute control over the finances of the world.
Right.
So they're not gone. Just because Trump said the Fed can't do central bank digital currencies, they're still there, and they're still operating as one with under the Bank for International Settlements. So remember, the BIS has branches in almost every country in the world,
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
including India, Brazil, etc.
Sure. Yeah.
So they're there. But what at this point, the hubris that will be left over from these people, if they fail in the end, the hubris will be immense, and we're the ones that are going to have to pay for that,
Right.
as individuals and as countries. So if they're successful or they're not successful, say 5 years from now or 3 years from now, and all that stuff blows up in our face, and we're left with a pile of no connection in the world all together, and all of a sudden there's a mess to clean up.
Yeah.
This will be hard on everybody in the world at this point.
I think it's a gamble. I think it's a gamble for the central bankers. I think it's a gamble for the technocrats. It's a gamble for the central bankers. And it's a gamble for the Trump administration, the global leaders, because as regular people wake up to this and see how corrupt and dystopian this future is, you run a real risk of people just setting up supply lines themselves and bartering and coming up with their own currencies. You run the risk of the free market overwhelming them and all their schemes to the point where they can't control it anymore. And especially this can happen if they're fighting against each other. And
I know when Anthony Sutton and I wrote about the Trilateral Commission in the late 1970s, we warned people all over the country. I mean, we sold a lot of books that day. We talked to some immense organizations,
right,
who got what we're talking about. However, the Trilateral Commission didn't. They went underground after that, but nevertheless, they're still here, and we were bounced out of the picture.
Right.
So there was no effective resistance that got traction back in that day. And these people are still in charge. I'll tell you why, though, Patrick.
Yeah. Well, but you know what, though? When people begin to suffer, what we're seeing in United States airports, what we're seeing at the gas station, when Americans, when people in general begin to really feel the economic crunch, that is when I think your words and your ideas will begin to resonate more. It's almost as if the pain needs to be applied in order for people to wake up. Tragically, you wish that people would just wake up and then we could fix this stuff, right? But I mean, this is just the way of the world. Patrick, we're going to go to a quick break, and then we're going to have another 15 minutes with you. There are a lot of questions. People have a ton of questions. If you're watching on the live chats right now, if you're on Substack, Twitter, Rumble, and you have questions, pop them in and pop them in all caps. We'll ask Patrick about that. Very important revelations here that have been laid out by Patrick Wood, the CEO of Technocracy. Please support their efforts over at technocracy.news. That is technocracy.news. I don't know anyone else, Patrick, that has put this together in the way that you have. And so thank you for that. You are ahead of the pack here. And these types of revelations are going to help people protect themselves. So we're going to return with Patrick in just a moment, but I do want to talk to you about our new sponsors over at the Wellness Company. You guys know that I love all the docs over at the Wellness Company. Dr. Peter McCullough, Dr. Kelly Victory, Dr. Drew, regular guests on the Shannon Joy Show. I'm so proud to partner up with TWC. They are sponsors of the Shannon Joy Show. And I want to talk about ivermectin and using ivermectin as a parasite cleanse at least once a year. It's ivermectin plus mebendazole, and it is a pharmaceutical grade, amazing cleanse that they recommend once a year, and they have a deal for you today on the Wellness Company. One of the big medical hacks of 2025 was several peer-reviewed studies, and they identified direct connections between antiparasitic medications having off-label benefits, fighting a wide variety of cancers. And this makes sense because the connection between tumor growth and parasites has been known for years. So this is very well established. The Wellness Company's proprietary USA compounded ivermectin and mebendazole is a doctor prescribed gold standard combination dose. It's designed to help the body eliminate parasites plus other incredible benefits. Each bottle contains 90 capsules, and that's enough for you to complete a 21-day cleanse. And from what I've read, you really only need to do maybe one cleanse a year, but it is so important. There are so many products out there that claim to be a parasitic cleanse and claim to achieve the same results. This is not those. This is a high strength formula. It cannot be found in a local pharmacy. And the Wellness Company is going to help you out by removing all the red tape and making the process fully digital. So it's a prescription, or it's a, as I mentioned, it is a prescription-based formula, and it's really all you need to do once a year. So all you have to do is fill out a quick intake form. A doctor is going to review that, and your medical grade parasite cleanse arrives in just a week. So this is time for a new year, new you. And this is just one of those extra steps in making sure that we are all super healthy. So if you go to twc.health/joy, that is twc.health/joy, use the promo code JOY and you will save $60 off plus free shipping. That's $60 off your order plus free shipping. And make sure that every time you shop at the Wellness Company, you use that promo code JOY. There will always be a discount for you, and they will take care of the Shannon Joy audience. So twc.health/joy, twc.health/joy. Okay, we'll be back in a moment to continue with Patrick Wood right here on the Shannon Joy Show. Hey everyone, I am so proud to recommend Schiff Gold to this audience as the gold standard for metals purchasing and investing. I couldn't ask for a better partner to help people understand gold and silver and use them as strategic instruments to protect their family's financial future. Peter Schiff's teaching on markets has shaped my understanding of how economies grow and why they collapse. And I've used them as a critical source for my daily broadcast for over 10 years. The Shannon Joy Show audience already knows and loves Peter because he has been such a treasured educator over the years. He is now the preeminent source for rock-solid financial analysis around the world. And this is because he understands the immutable laws of natural markets and his stalwart unwillingness to veer from absolute truths regardless of economic fads and political pressures. Bottom line, he doesn't sell out. And that means a lot to me. I trust Schiff Gold, and you can too. Go to schiffgold.com/joy today to get started. You'll find some of the lowest spot prices for gold and silver and critical information on protecting your retirement savings with a gold or silver IRA. That's www.schiffgold.com/joy. Hedge against the chaos with our friends over at Schiff Gold. At 123.com/joy. Everything that you're going to need for preparation: generators, solar panels, Faraday products. If you want to disappear and protect yourself from the surveillance state, they have an entire line of amazing Faraday products called dark bags. They're always 10% off at the satellite phone store if you go to sat123.com/joy. That is sat123.com/joy. The satellite phone store has supported the Shannon Joy Show for many years. They are amazing partners, and let's help the companies that help keep the lights on here at the Shannon Joy Show. So if you are in the market for any of their products or services, make sure you use that promo code JOY and go to sat123.com/joy. That's sat123.com/joy. Welcome back, everyone, to the Shannon Joy Show. Patrick Wood blackpilling us today on the SJ Show about what it appears Trump is up to in declaring himself the king of Gaza and setting up the legal infrastructure, or not even legal, it's just setting it up. I mean, this is crazy stuff, Patrick, that you laid out in the last segment. If I can get final thoughts from you on the big picture about what you think is happening here, when you think it's going to happen, what Trump needs to do in order to achieve his dystopian and dastardly plans for this country. And then we'll go to questions. We got a bunch of questions on the live chat. But I want to make sure that anything you wanted to get on the table, that you wanted to let the audience know, you were able to let them know. And then we'll go to questions. So I'll hand it over to you for a moment to conclude our discussion here.
You bet. There's a massive shift, I think, of wealth and influence being shifted away from nation states like the United States to the Middle East. I don't know how it's going to play out, but we need to have our eyes on it. Put it that way. This is going to be potentially huge, and it may spell the demise of our influence in the world, in America. Remember, Bible prophecy doesn't say a word about America. It's you can't find it. So, right. Our influence is waning. The Middle East, however, is all of a sudden the money's just pouring in like crazy. It's already been there, but more money is pouring in, and they're going to be immensely wealthy at some point. So we need to see then it in the context of world trade, and we should probably take all of our preconceived ideas on how the world works in the first place and put them aside for a while as you analyze what's going on going forward with the new world order, the new stuff that's coming at us. And otherwise, you can't analyze this in terms of just politics anymore. It's not about left or right. And people want to argue about, well, it's this country or that group or whatever. Forget it. This is purely economic one-upsmanship. And it's going to be ugly in the future, perhaps for us, but our country will survive in one sense. Like you might remember when Morpheus gave that famous speech in the Matrix movie.
Right.
He was cheering all the people, and the machines were just about to attack, and the big battle going forward. And he said, "We've been fighting these machines for 100 years, and the basic bottom line is we're still here."
That's right.
And we have a capacity to be a resilient people. Humans are that way. We've proven it time and time again. We will survive in some form.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we have seen tectonic global shifts throughout human history. 4,000 or 5,000 years of human history. Yes. We have seen these types of shifts, and there's nothing to be frightened of. And I have come to believe that in times like this, it's very dangerous, and there is high anxiety, and things change, but there are also enormous opportunities. And there are opportunities for liberty and for freedom and for flourishing from the bottom up at the community level, free markets. There are opportunities for new currencies and new tokens, and using technology in a way that helps humans to flourish, as opposed to using technology, handing the power to global elites to use it to enslave us. So that's our mission right now, is to make sure that we maintain our freedom. They're going to throw a lot of things at us. But, I appreciate your perspective here, Patrick, and I agree with you there. Let's go to some of the questions. Let's go to M. Garth Hilton first. And thank you so much. We got a $5 tip from one of our viewers, which is, where are we? Silver Country. Thank you so much. $5, a donation. I so appreciate you. All in yellow. That's fantastic. So let me ask, M. Garth Hilton wants to know, well, this is a good one. Why is China being so quiet about all of this, Patrick? Am I missing something? Where does China play into all of this?
I'll tell you what, China has been posited as the country that we have to have a race with. doesn't matter what it is, AI, 5G,
Something,
there's
right?
always a race,
Yeah,
and we have to beat China. Why? I don't know why, because they're on the other side of the world. Who cares
right,
what the China does?
right.
But however, China has been a technocracy, arguably, at least for 25, 26 years,
Hmm.
run by engineers and scientists. And they've taken a technocratic stand against their people with surveillance and the smart cities, et cetera, et cetera. They've been big in AI. They've been big in robotics.
Right.
And the technocrats in Washington, D.C. and Silicon Valley, they're fine with the Chinese.
Oh, they
They
love it.
have no
Yeah.
problem with them at all.
Right.
That- So China, they built this huge infrastructure called a Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, and it's connecting some trade routes in South America, Africa, China, Asia, and however, it may be competing with the IMEC corridor, but
That's
not
what I see.
necessarily.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. They can tie into it at some point,
Sure.
and it could be a massive network. We've never seen anything like this in the history of the world.
Yeah.
But China, at this point, they're being marginalized, and they understand this. I think they understand it perfectly well. They're being marginalized, especially with Iran, and
Yeah.
Russia's also been marginalized as well. Um, so what happens in the Mideast right now seems to be the dominant influence around the world. All these countries are looking at it. They're just keeping their mouth shut.
Ah, maybe, maybe. I would encourage you to listen to the interview with Pierre Lassonde because there is, I mean, China is one of the largest purchasers of gold bullion. So, I mean,
Mhm.
countries are loading up. In fact, the Shanghai exchange is now, I believe, ahead of COMEX in terms of the valuation of gold. Gold is moving into tier one position. And so, they may be, and in this case, I would probably be on China's side and the BRIC side if if they're moving. It looks as if they're moving to try to establish a physical gold situation as the reserve currency for the globe, and people are flooding into it. Then you have Trump and his tech cronies and all the Bitcoin people, and they want your money up in the air, tethered to nothing. So I can see the setup there. I can see them working together at some point, right, when things settle out. But here's the thing, though, Patrick. They'll all rip each other's faces off. I mean, they're not going to give this up. I mean, we do have the opportunity for them to all of them take each other out, and us little people at the bottom can just figure out how to do things on our own. That is always something that I think is a possibility. So it's going to be interesting to see what China does. But let's go to another question.
Hmm.
Buskman has this to say, Patrick, what do you recommend that we, the people, do about this? It's a coming storm, and he wants like bullet points, like 1, 2, 3. What should we do? We know we can't stick our head in the sands and crawl up in the fetal position and suck our thumb and cry ourselves to sleep about this. And we got to get going because I have kids. They need liberty. They need a life. So, what would you recommend?
Well, certainly the battle starts in your mind.
It's true.
It really does. This is where sovereignty resides. It's in your mind.
Mhm.
If you can't take it yourself, if you can't wrap your head around it, you'll be forever enslaved.
Yeah.
This is the condition of so many Americans right now. It really is. It's really sad.
Mm,
But for somebody who understands the value of liberty and freedom, it starts right between your ears.
yeah.
And
Absolutely.
if you're unwilling to go out and tell other people, and also to express your faith as well. I mean, this is not just about tell people buy gold
Right.
necessarily.
Right.
The spiritual aspect is just huge at this point because people are wandering around in the dark. They just don't know what to do.
Hmm.
this is a good opportunity for people to understand or at least rediscover the Bible, put it this way.
Yeah.
There's answers there for people. And if you can accept it, go and find out what the answers are. So you can form relationships with people in your community, build friendships, with neighbors, farmers markets, whatever, people who can do stuff for you, and you have a skill, you can do it for them. Build these networks now. You may not have the opportunity to do it later, but this is the time to do that for sure.
I absolutely agree. Go ahead.
Otherwise, whatever these people do at the top, it is out of your control. There's no way you can control these people. This is probably you as Shannon, you can't call the head of the BIS and give him what for.
That's right. They don't listen to me.
I know, me either.
I try. But they make a lot of mistakes.
Yes,
they make a lot of mistakes. And let me tell you, we can throw wrenches in their plans. That brings me to a video that I linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show that I want to play for you, Patrick, because you're going to love this. This video is viral. It's making its way across social media. I want to say multi-millions of views right now. And I linked it in the show notes of the SJ Show, Annie, under the title, "This is How You Save America." And I want you to take a look, and then I want to get your thoughts on that. Annie, if you could run the tape.
If it's my way, I'll stay and hold and feed a nation. 26 million doesn't mean anything.
Some people might find it hard to understand how Delcia Bear can turn away a $26 million offer to buy some of her land until you spend a little time with her walking the dirt road she grew up on and in the house her daddy built.
My grandfather and great-grandfather and a whole bunch of family has all lived here for years, paid taxes on it, fed a nation off of it, even raised wheat through the Depression and kept the bread lines up in the United States of America when people didn't have anything else.
Delcia is one of dozens of landowners approached by an anonymous buyer, one of the major players in artificial intelligence, likely Google or Meta or Amazon, to purchase their land. The market value for land in Mason County is about $6,000 an acre. The realtor that came to her door last April offered her and her mother about 10 times that.
They call us old stupid farmers, but we're not. We know whenever our food is disappearing, our lands are disappearing, and we don't have any water. And poison, we know we've had it.
Delcia's mom, Ida Huddleston, is now 82 years old. She says she does not need the money or the hassle. She was born on this land and she plans to die here, and she certainly does not trust the promises made by the AI companies or the people who want them to build here.
So what do you say to the people who are in town that say, hey, this is going to bring jobs, this is going to bring economic prosperity?
I say they're a liar and the truth ain't in them, is what I say. It's a scam.
For Delcia, scam or not, she says she's connected to her home like Scarlett O'Hara was in Gone with the Wind.
As long as she was attached to that land, her spirit never would die. And that's the exact same thing for me right here. As long as I'm on this land, as long as it's feeding me, as long as it's taking care of me, there's nothing that can destroy me if I've got this land.
I love that so much. I love that so much. Gone with the Wind is one of my all-time #1 favorite movies ever in the history of the world. I love Scarlett O'Hara. I wanted to be just like her because she was so feisty. And, Patrick, isn't it amazing that these two women, very humble, right? Not affluent, are going viral on YouTube and TikTok and Twitter because they're simply telling the truth, and they are valuing and holding dear what really matters, and that is the land. I just thought that was amazing. I thought it would make you smile.
It does. And the value of private property at this point cannot be understated. It's under attack everywhere.
Yes.
Tokenization will rip the concept of private property out of society to where there'll be none. If they have their way to get everything tokenized, there'll be no concept of private property left.
Right.
This is so important to understand what private property is in the first place to Americans and to people around the world. It's not just in here in America, but the idea that commerce and support comes from the land in the first place. It all comes from the land.
Right.
The land was set up at the first instance by God, given to people to manage the resources of the world.
Right.
This is the whole concept. They're flipping this on its head now. They're saying, no, we'll be in charge of everything, and we'll take care of all of you people, and we'll feed you cradle to grave. You look to us for all your resources and all your stuff in life. And by the way, you won't have to have private property at all. You'll pay us just some fee to rent whatever you want to have access to.
That's right.
Your house, your clothes, your car, you name it. They're turning the world into a renter society.
Yes, they are. It's a 21st century feudalism, a technocratic feudalism, where we're serfs. They own everything. We have no rights. Magna Carta out the window, Constitution out the window, Bill of Rights out the window, rule of law, private property. They're trying to do away with all of that, and they simply can't. And I agree with this statement from Garth Hilton. I do agree with you, Garth. In this, I think the letter to the Ephesians is Paul's revelation that actually teaches the church to resist and see through propaganda. It is a roadmap for righteous resistance. We are called to seek justice and protect the fatherless, plead for the widow, right? Like, we are, as Christians, called to engage in these battles. I don't think that this is a call to, oh, there's nothing we can do, they're going to just roll over us. No, we're called to stand up and to push back against whatever is happening. Anything that is going to go against God's plan for us, that's our job. And I think that you agree with that too, Patrick. I don't think that that's what you were saying when you meant there's nothing we can do about their dastardly plans. I mean, they are always going to be working their dastardly plans, and we're always called to fight them, right? There you go. That's right. The story of life.
There was one question by Nelson Sweetman. I don't know if we got to this
yes,
one.
Yes, Patrick.
Like
yeah, sure. Nelson Sweetman has this question. I didn't see that on the chat. Patrick, and we have about 5 minutes. Do you believe Babylon in Iraq is the Babylon of Revelation 18? Interesting.
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, I do. And I'll tell you why. Well, I'll give you a couple of reasons. What's going on in the Middle East right now, the concentration of wealth, especially, and all this talk about a trade route, a corridor being established in this region. There's going to be potentially untold wealth flowing through that artery. And Iraq is just dead north from that corridor. And already construction has proceeded at the Al-Fa port, just in southern Iraq. That's just 100 plus miles from historic Babylon. And you can see signs, green shoots, talking about development in the Babel zone and Babylon itself. Just wait. I can't. You can't say anything other than that. But just wait for it to happen. I think we're going to see in the next 2 or 3 years construction starting to happen in Babylon. That would be huge for Bible prophecy for sure.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has something to say about Bible prophecy. Everyone. I mean, they write gazillions of books on it. And I don't worry about the end of the world. I figure it's going to come or it's not going to come. No one knows but the Father. That's what Jesus said. And I could walk out my front door and get hit by a bus, and that's the end times for me. So that's not something that I tend to pay a whole lot of attention to, but I know that people are interested in that. And I appreciate your perspective on it, Patrick, as well. whatever the case, we are called to do what we can from our own corner of the world, according to our own unique talents and abilities. And I think you do that every day, Patrick. How can people support you and find you and support everything? Also get your book, The Final Betrayal.
Absolutely. Technocracy.news, that's where all the action is at this point. You can get a premium subscription and look at all our stories, over 7,000 stories posted over the years. Amazing. You can get all my books as well on Amazon. There's the Kindle versions, the audiobook versions, for all of my books. And I'm coming up with a new book in the near future.
Okay.
The title will be "You Will Own Nothing." This is about this will be an economic book focusing on trade and economics as well. Basically, be the switch into the asset-based economic system. I think that's the future of the world order at this point. Yep. So anyway, the beat goes on, and you pick up stuff. The book I wrote with Courtney Turner was has been an amazing book. People have told me, written to us.
So good.
They really resonated what we talk about.
So good. I've actually been reading it.
Betrayed, basically. Yeah. That was the whole point.
Well, and that's what you laid out today with Trump. I mean, he's basically looting the nation and setting up for himself a fiefdom, or trying to, in the Middle East. I don't like to ever say anything's inevitable because I don't think that they can achieve it. God is way more powerful than they are, and we can achieve liberty. So, I always operate from that standpoint. But it's an amazing book. And I have been a subscriber to Technocracy for many, many years. In fact, I was a subscriber for many years before I even met you, Patrick. It's been one of the most consistent sources of really great information for the Shannon Joy Show. So appreciate all that you do. God bless you, my friend. We'll have you back again soon, okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, Patrick Wood. Thank you guys for being with us today on the SJ Show. We will go over this. I'll answer more questions tomorrow, but we are out of time. So thank you to all of you who watched today. Please, again, give us a thumbs up. Share this with everyone you know. Comments are always appreciated. And if you want to support the SJ Show, you can go to my website, theshannonjoy.com, theshannonjoy.com. Right now, there are two ways you can support our efforts here on the show. The first is to donate. We have lots of monthly subscribers and angel investors who donate to our independent organization. It's right up in the right-hand corner of my website. You can also sign up for the SJ Daily e-newsletter. That's a huge deal. It helps me connect to you. And so that if we ever get deplatformed, I'm able to communicate with you. I send all of my show notes and all of my resources every day in an e-blast to all of you, and people seem to really like it. So appreciate you guys today. Have a wonderful day. Annie, thank you for producing the SJ Show. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all again right here on the Shannon Joy Show.